Welcome everybody and to season 2, episode 1 of the Curiosity Cache, our 5th edition Scarred Lands D&D campaign. I am joined today by our regular crew, Noah and John and Chaz.
Yep.
It's been a while since we've gotten to play with these guys. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yay! And of course, last season we had Katie on as well. Pratchya, her character is, well, we'll talk about what happens with her character. But with Katie having to do work, she will hopefully join us again in the future. But until then, we have some what happened since the last episode to cover. So, you all had, well, essentially you work at a store called the Curiosity Cache. It is a relics and rarity store that is hired out on occasion to procure items by people in the city of Shelzar. Um, Sometimes adventurers bring the store things to buy and then resell, and other times there are people within the city who know of something and so hire the store, who essentially then hires adventurers to go out and find these things. But as of the beginning of last season, the owner of the store, Belky, had disappeared, and Pratchya, who is the manager of the store and kind of his right hand lady, she's the muscle behind the store. She was kind of left holding the bag. She had a limited amount of funds and only a small amount of objects still coming in, and those, when we started the game, that last object had actually arrived, and then the person didn't want to pay for it. If you want to catch what happened with all of that, go back to season 1, watch all of those episodes, and then come back to now. Since then, you all have decided essentially that you're going to go out and try and find relics on your own, because the store no longer has money to pay adventurers to do it, and therefore you are soon going to be unemployed and homeless. The store provides your housing, which is upstairs, and so you're all pretty on board with keeping the store open and running. But in that time, Friede, who's played by Chaz, was kidnapped by, probably, I'm pretty sure Friede knew this, a member of the Calastian Guard that is stationed in the city, which is very strange. The people of Shelzar do not necessarily agree with or get along with the Calastians, and so for this embassy to be there and for them to have an actual military force has caused some unrest in the city. And one of those members, by our house rule of fickle fate, took note of Friede, who is an Eshik, often mislabeled as a winter gnome. They are fey creatures of ice, and this Calastian was very he considers himself a businessman in the way that he's going to kidnap people and sell them as slaves in the hegemony, which allows slavery. And so Friede was kidnapped, and the rest of the crew went after to try and find him. Does that all sound right so far?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Without spoiling anything, again, go back and watch season 1. Friede has been found, not necessarily rescued. I think Friede rescued himself. But he has rejoined. At the end of last season, he had rejoined the crew, and they were in a small fishing village, or fishing town, where strange events had happened before Friede's return. And upon trying to find a ship back to Shelzar, because everyone had left going after, in search of Friede, they found Friede down on the dock with some other sailors that the crew had of the ship that had been taking them had been looking for. And that's pretty much where we ended. You guys had picked up an adopted child, essentially. You rescued a halfling child named Mariah from this strange event that was occurring in the village, and you took Mariah and the rest of the crew back to Shelzar. Now, an important thing to note, again, spoilers, during this time you had found this strange quill that Mariah had had, and while being under the influence of the quill, her dreams and her imagination had been released upon the town, causing all sorts of mayhem. Uh, you had actually stepped probably into this dream of hers is the best thing that you can guess. Um, and that's where you found her, and she was clutching the quill, and so you wrapped the quill up and took it away from her and woke her up and returned her to the real world. And because the quill was not known to the village and Mariah was going with you, I don't think you guys really mentioned the quill to them at all, but it essentially ended the problem for them and let them go on with their lives and took the quill with you. And by that time, all of you had realized that the quill is probably worth quite a lot of money. And off the air, we've had this conversation about what happens with the quill, and so I'll just throw that out there now. Though the store, the Curiosity Cache, is meant to find relics and sell them to customers, Pratchya has decided that the quill is far too dangerous to just let some random person come in and buy, let alone somebody willingly seeking that kind of power to come in and look for it. So you were trying to figure out what to do with the quill, and the fact that you can't resell it was brought up. Like, how are you going to continue paying the bills?
Mhm.
Noah, go for it. What's up?
Yes, this is also the charitable version because Pratchya probably looked at some of the members of the party, looks at Dhesim, looks at Brakaw's great ability to work with tools, and said, there could be a lot of problems with even the other members of the party having this item.
Absolutely. And in
And we're
fact,
back in.
I believe there was a part of the conversation that went, the in character conversation was essentially there was talk about just throwing it overboard while you're on the ship to go back to Shelzar. Why not just weight it down and throw it in the ocean? Who's going to find it? And Friede stepped up. Exactly.
Oh, we don't want that.
And was like, there are far stranger things within these waters than you realize. And I don't know how much Friede has revealed to the other characters, but if you as a viewer want to know more about what happened to Friede on his journey, go back and watch the super secret solo sessions of Friede. They are on YouTube. So let's see. The other bit we talked about off camera was that the crew of the ship that's taking you back had actually been turned into a bunch of cats by the power of the quill. And it becomes known to the crew, possibly by Captain Morrigan, mentioned to them that it was due to you and Captain Morrigan's efforts that they had been returned to being people again. And so the captain of the ship actually gives you all some coins, and these coins are things you've never seen the like of. They're like these small purple and or green coins, and at first you think maybe it's like the green might be like a bronze coin that's like has that patina on it that they do, but instead you're told that these are Shelzarium, which is a special kind of metal that's only found on Gelspad. And Bratchya's eyes just light up, and she starts like thinking about it, and she knows that there are customers that have open orders. If Shelzarium shows up in the store, send a runner because they'll be over to buy it. And so that answer of how is the store going to stay open was suddenly, oddly, and randomly solved. Noah, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
Just that Pratchya would be the one who understands things, and Brakaw would be the. Wait a minute. Is this. These coins smell weird.
They probably do smell weird. And so, reaching the Shelzari docks, you all head back to the cache. And upon arriving at the cache, you find Sajida, who is one of the other workers, the one that was left behind in order to maintain the store while you were gone. And she catches you up on what has happened since the last time you were there. And if you recall, and I'm sure you do, there was a large glowing rat person, kind of greenish, that had been really created in the bowels of the shop due to, we'll just call them various shenanigans. How's that? Uh, and so that mouse or that rat person had been taken under the wing of Dhesim, who is also a Slytherin or a rat folk, who very much feels as though they are the one of the parental figures of this rat folk, which they named Skrigik.
Skrigik. Yes.
And Sajida informs you that Skrigik is actually missing. Since you left, another of these glowing rat folk had been seen, and so Skrigik went off to find this other being to either. It seemed like this other creature was antagonizing people, attacking people, possibly, and so Skrigik had gone off to find them and potentially stop them or find out what was going on, and has not been seen since. What else? So you all sell the Shelzarium, and it brings in a good amount of money to the point where there was a tax lien on the shop, and Pratchya pays that off. All the bills are caught up. Everyone is paid as far as their living wages, and there were certain damages done in season 1 to the store. And despite the attempts of Brakaw to shore up those damages, the floor did end up caving in. And so that, as we begin that process of fixing the shop, is pretty much wrapping up. Another thing to mention is during the process, everyone, all of the workers, you're all down in the basement, which is actually, so far that you've known, just kind of a series of natural tunnels that appear under like the store is built over. But you found a door in one of these tunnels, and that door was locked, but Pratchya had the key for that one, and so she went up and got the keys and came down and unlocked it, or rather, she had a set of keys from Belky that she thought might have the key on it, and so she ended up finding it, unlocking the door, and there's just this maze of tunnels beyond. Some of those tunnels are natural, some of them are built, and you found another locked door. This door was magically locked, and Pratchya paid to have a sorcerer come in, or actually to create a scroll to open the door, and you found Belky's hidden sanctum. You found information that Belky has been obsessing about and searching for the lost city of Brass, which is where the Jinn, all of genie kind, has been trapped for at least the last 150 years or so. And you've come to realize that is probably what took Belky away, and his end mission, as far as why he left to begin with, why he hasn't returned, you don't know. So with all of that being said, you're now back in the shop. 2 weeks have gone by, which is 16 days, because weeks are 8-day weeks in Gelsbad. What is everybody doing with their newfound, at least not, I don't want to say newfound fortune, but at least no one's like worrying about starving or being homeless. What have you all been doing in your own time and up until now, besides the things I just explained? Let's start with Brakaw.
So, Brock has been working on a few things. First, we need a place to put this quill. So, Pratchya and I worked a little bit on being able to secure it somewhere, and Braka designed some of the locks. So, not only do they work, but eh, there aren't a whole lot of people who know quite how they work, which in its own way makes it very, very high security.
Right. Love it. And so
Because it's a bit of accidental genius.
right. And so that location that you build the new lock for was the sanctum that Belky had created. Pratchya also felt that it wasn't safe to have all of this information that Belky has gathered just to be open, and you haven't explored very far down the tunnels, and so who knows what might come up down further on, and so you've created this locked area, which I think brings us to Dhesim. Also had a plan for that tunnel area. What's Dhesim been doing?
Well, Dhesim, of course, feels at home in the tunnels. It's a much more familiar place than the hustle and bustle of Shelzar. He has set up a small ramshackle alchemy lab down in the tunnels, some distance away from the curiosity cache, knowing full well that things could go horribly wrong, and he would rather blow up someone else's basement instead of the shop that keeps him fed.
Absolutely. And I believe did you hoodwink Friede into helping you?
I mean, obviously now that Friede is back, yes, he would have totally invited Friede to come join him in the rat cave, and that's right, rat cave. It's gonna be down in the rat cave as a not just a sidekick, but an eshik. See what I did there? Yeah,
I did see.
Nice.
And
yeah.
and do you have Braka build you like a door, like a security door to put over the entrance to this small lair?
Is Braka willing to do that? Is the question. I mean, it would need to be something that's blast proof.
That what? Sorry?
It would need to be something that's blast proof. You see, the whole point
I
of
can
being
certainly try.
Yeah, I mean, if Brakaw is willing to build a blast door, Dhesim would, of course, request help, because I don't think that Dhesim has the know-how on how to provide that level of protection.
Totally.
Yep.
So Dhesim,
I'm not sure Brockett does either, but he tried.
absolutely. So Dhesim, like you get to the point where you're working with Braka to do this, and you all realize that even though you have the funds from the Shelzarium coins, you're not going to have quite enough funding, and that's when it really hits you that there was a shop that you had gone to in last season. This was probably 2 weeks ago, maybe a little longer. And you had spoken with an elven woman who was actually in this strange wheeled chair. You hadn't seen anything like it before. And her name was Aliwin Chavular. No, Chavalur. She owns and operates what's called a memory cafe, known as Through the Ages. And thinking about this, Braka and Dhesim and Pratchya all realized they had all agreed to sell some of their memories in exchange for. So you were getting some money, and then you were also getting information that would lead you to a certain falchion of a long dead Sutak warrior, which is the Sutak are horse people, much like and actually the same as the Ironbred, but the Ironbred, like Brakaw, have decided to step away from the worship of the Titan and the like embracing of the super savage nature and have moved on. So the Ironbred and the Sutak are actually the same race, but if I remember correctly, Brakaw is not a big fan of Sutak. Is that correct?
Like most Ironbred, no.
No. And so you had been very interested in seeing, essentially trying to find this falchion and seeing where this hero had fallen, kind of for your own sake, I guess. Does that sound right?
I mean, it was mainly that we had a job to do, but there may have been a little satisfaction, which normally Brakaw would not stoop to such low levels, but he's not a perfect person. But he does have a really nice friend in that elf lady who Brakaw probably forgets her name. Who runs the store? She takes a real interest in Brakaw for some reason.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that Brakaw was making a little extra coin on the side due to certain memories that he had of a certain um, emotional state that there are definitely people within the town, within the city of Shelzar, that enjoy feeling that. I don't know if we want to call it shame or embarrassment, but
more. I'm not sure it's how much they enjoy feeling it themselves versus they enjoy knowing that other people are feeling it.
Right.
And Brakaw doesn't get it at all.
Right. And so the three of you, Dhesim, Brakaw, and Pratchya, actually go back over to Through the Ages and meet with Eluin. And though the memories that you had promised her aren't the ones that you're giving her, you experienced things on your adventure that she has nothing like that whatsoever. And so she's more than happy to give you extra payment for as many of the memories as you will give her. And so you all have a conversation beforehand, and whether you want, whatever you hold back is up to you. But Pratchya is definitely leery about letting any memory of the quill reach anyone beyond your circle. So essentially, sharing the memory of the quill would be against her plan. Dhesim or Brakaw, do either of you go against that?
I would never go against the will of the gentle masters. They keep me fed.
Is this something that Dhesim would have said?
About what?
That you never go against the will of the gentle masters because they keep you fed?
No. He just simply does it by doing.
So Brakaw would probably have spent a little time, kind of obviously looking at Dhesim for a bit. It's like, okay, what's the best way to remind someone of something without accidentally putting it in their head so they focus on it?
Totally fair. So with that being said,
and then
yeah,
and then I make sure that right before we go in, Brakaw starts asking Dhesim about all those lovely, lovely potions.
Excellent.
And whether there are others that he wants to sample in the future.
Other ones that he wants to sample in the future?
Yeah, sample in the future, other potions.
All of them. I mean, if it's in a bottle and it has a weird color, he wants to drink it.
So the two of you, Brakaw and Dhesim, go ahead and make. You can choose. You can either do a Wisdom saving throw or a Charisma saving throw. And if you're having login issues with Astral, you can just roll dice,
Wisdom or charisma, you said?
whichever you choose. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
Wow.
I'm just starting to log in, but I also have physical dice that I haven't really used for anything yet, so I'm going to roll them.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what your saving throw
That
is.
is a 14 on a wisdom save.
Excellent. Okay, so Eowyn casts her magic and pulls these glowing strands from your mind. Dhesim, pretty much like she'll ask you questions about what occurred in this village and such, and for the most part, your mind just keeps going back to being in that apothecary and
Well, there were so many of them.
wiping all of the potions, and like you were very tiny to begin with when it started, but then going back later and stealing them again, and there are like glimpses of what happened elsewhere. But for the most part, you're like thinking about drinking one and then like feeling amazingly light and like you could float away, and drinking another one and like burping fire. And I think you drank one and became even smaller, and you drank another and became much, much larger. Most of the sensations that you pass on are all about potions. Good job, Brakaw. And Brakaw, you managed to like. There's a couple times where if anyone were watching you while this is happening, you know how like horses roll their eyes when they get scared or nervous. They might notice you kind of do this as you're like thinking about going through the fun house and the weird shit that happened there. And essentially you're thinking to yourself, don't think about and you stop yourself just before thinking about it. And you think to yourself, maybe I should have given myself one of those like things as well.
But Brakaw did. It's the don't think about, and then his mind flashes to that scene when he had to try and climb up the wall
with his hooves,
right? And it did not go well.
Yeah. So a lot, if a viewer of your memories later on were to catch on to this thing that you were trying to hide, they would probably assume it was this like embarrassment of falling back down the wall from not being able to. And once you become a larger, well-known memory supplier, I think people are going to really be understanding, oh yeah, that's absolutely what Brakaw was thinking, because he's embarrassed all the time.
He seems to have some sense of what his market value is.
Absolutely fair. So Friede, while all of these things are going on, you've agreed to help set up this lab, and and actually, Brakaw, you and Friede will see these things, and Brakaw will have a little bit more of a connection for them as far as where they came from. But Friede, like, you're not really sure where these things came from, and Dhesim starts like setting up all of these like burners and beakers and these potion bottles and all these tubes and things. And he must have wasted a small fortune buying these things. Brakaw, you remember seeing these in the apothecary in that fishing village. How they came to be in Friede's possession, not really sure, but he did spend some time by himself in there. But he's very ecstatic to be trying new things out, and he's already adding. I'm assuming you probably drank through those potions, but I could be wrong. And what do you think there, Dhesim?
Yeah, there's no way that those potions would have survived the journey
Yeah.
from the fishing village to here.
Okay.
They would be definitely depleted.
So Dhesim has definitely found some of the reagents that you would use for alchemy, but hasn't really grasped. Hasn't really, we'll say, hasn't really found the outlet to procure these things from quite yet. And so part of Dhesim's time during the last 2 weeks might also be spent finding such a location. So while this is all getting set up, Friede, what's Friede doing?
So one, if Friede is helping set up this space, he is also going to make a little like tinkering corner. And in those like 4 hours when he's awake and everyone else is still asleep, he'll try to do some tinkering to make grenade canisters of some sort, just like 2 of them, so he can have on his person. And then whenever everyone is having their own like field trips, like going to the memory thing, and he's like, "Oh, my memories are dumb," he is going to go to the local school and like help the library,
Okay.
particularly the zoology section,
Okay.
to see what 10-mile long creature could possibly be living in the seas next
Gotcha.
to Shelzar.
Gotcha. Okay. So go ahead and make me an investigation check.
Wait, you are good at investigation. You're just dumb.
And just so you know, the group wouldn't necessarily say you couldn't go to the memory cafe. But they definitely have a requirement to go back. They promised they would go back and give these memories. Brakaw had left a down payment, which has already begun his future fame.
Right.
But like the 3 of them have to go back. So if you were interested in going and selling any of your memories, they don't stop you. So totally up to you.
Nah, I don't think there's many of my memories that would be of interest and or should be widely available.
That's completely fair. Okay.
Because like they know who it is. Like when they go to get, they see like Brakaw and then hit Brakaw's catalog of memories. So they would be like, "This is Friede's memories of Friede talking to a dolphin."
So a lot of the cataloging is actually very private. It's not. There is a section that is more publicly known because either there are names set in it or because they're like the faces of well-known people. So it's much harder to be like, oh, I don't know who that is. But
Gotcha.
most of them are anonymous as much as they can be. However,
I am made of ice.
Exactly. It wouldn't take much of a guess to get you from A to B as far as you were concerned.
Yeah, no, well, we won't risk it.
Okay.
I rolled an 8 on my investigation because I
did.
am this library thing. Got to sit down and open the books and.
I am actually looking up because there is a small university and a library in the city. And I'm trying to remember what they are called. So give me just a sec. I apologize.
Mm-hmm. With my hood up.
Gotcha. So are you feeling more worried now than you used to as far as traveling around the city?
I mean, I think he always walked around with his hood up.
Gotcha.
So I guess no, he's not more worried.
Okay. So I do know that you walk by the menagerie, which is essentially a very large. It's a zoo.
Right.
It's a very large zoo that's in the city, but by far the most well-known and visited reason is the black dragon that lives in there, and as you walk by, you can see it like clinging to the massive dome that is built over it. Um, it's very unnerving. Like you've never seen a dragon before coming to Shelzar, and legends is that these creatures don't even exist.
But it's just right there.
Right. So there's always that like sense of ugh, when you go walking by, but you make it up to the university, which I still haven't found the name for. So we will go with the university for now.
Yeah.
What's your plan as far as how are you going to go about this?
I think the first, because there's a librarian, right?
I would assume so.
And Friede is not a very studious fellow. So the first thing he's gonna do is talk to the librarian. Like, hi, how are you doing? I have a question if you don't mind. And essentially just kind of be like, is there an animal section, or perhaps would you happen to know of the animals in the seas or oceans around Shelzar, particularly large animals. I like the cool big, like a shark or bigger, like way bigger.
Yeah. So the librarian is a halfling. His skin is kind of this like nut brown color, and his brown hair is graying. He kind of has this stoop that makes him even shorter than he was, but he doesn't seem to be old enough to have that stoop yet. His hands are very gnarled, and he has these very strange shoes on. They look like they're like wood planks that have some kind of metal attached to them, and you're not really sure what that's about. You could make a intelligence check.
Let's see.
As you look at him, as he's like, he says, "Follow me," and he's guiding you towards this section. You notice that there's like kind of this strange motion that makes it so when he walks, it almost seems to like pad his steps to a certain extent. But you see springs or some kind of gears or gears and springs in them, and you're pretty sure they're meant to do something. Like it's a contraption that he's wearing and not just shoes.
Gotcha.
And as you get closer to the area, he says you're looking for sea creatures, yes?
Yes, sea creatures, but only sea creatures in this like general area.
Okay, further on, this way. He leads you on a little further, and he begins looking around, and he pulls something out of his pocket, and he puts on these glasses and begins like twisting something, and he's looking up on the shelf. Okay, one moment, and he goes over and he reaches down, and he pulls a lever, and the shoes like elevate him up.
Ooh.
And he like pulls out this monstrous tome, and like it kind of leans back, and the springs that he's on are kind of wavering around. Can you here catch this?
Sure. We'll see if I actually try.
And he tosses it off. Go ahead and just make either Dex or Strength, whichever you want. Sorry, Athletics or Acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
Nice.
18.
So yeah, you're like waiting in time with it, and he drops it, and it is a large book. It's like humans or larger humanoids obviously wrote this, and it's large for them. So he pushes a button, comes back down to your height, and gestures over to a table where you can read.
Okay.
And so you get over there, and like as you're carrying it, the binding of the book is weird. It feels almost like when you've touched people before, like they have a fleshy feeling. Like it's hard for you to like say this is what my flesh feels like because you're ice, but it has this very fleshy feeling and is a little spongy, but it's kind of a gray color instead of like any skin tones. So you don't think this is like wrapped in people skin. But you're sure it is some kind of leather. And you take it over and you open it up, and the book itself is probably just over half your size, like height. So you plop it down on the table and you open it up, and there are just these magnificent drawings inside of all of these different creatures.
Picture book.
It
Okay,
is.
I'm invested again.
And so you begin researching.
I don't know what this thing looks like, do I? I don't.
You really don't. I mean, you can recall that it either had many tendrils or something that was wrapping around you. There was a lot of layers of these kind of tubular structures that were wrapped around you. So you can probably make some assumptions when you see art.
Right.
But go ahead. What's your passive?
It's not great.
What's your passive wisdom? Like, what's your wisdom score?
Just a +1 on that wisdom.
Okay. Are you trained in investigation?
I am.
Okay. Then what is that?
+2 because I am just a 10 on intelligence.
Okay. So you take a lot of time. Actually, how long do you take? Like, are you just flipping through and like looking at the pictures until you see something you recognize, or are you like taking your time and paying attention?
I would love to say taking my time and paying attention, but I think it's like, is this it? No, keep going.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there are a lot of fish. There are a lot of eels, which like some of those spark your memory, and you're looking at them and you're like, but none of these are large enough.
Yeah, keep on.
You keep going. You find some squid. You find some octopus.
Okay.
There are mentions of like sharks, and this book seems older, and so you had some visions. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Every so often, you're just like, I wonder if that is in here, and like you kind of add that to your mental list of things to watch. And you remember seeing shark people. And as you go through the book, there are no shark people in the book whatsoever. You remember seeing sea trolls, scrags.
Yeah.
Scrags are listed in this, so they are. This book considers them life of the ocean, essentially.
Right.
So you get the feeling the book isn't just about animals. You do find a mention of krakens, which make an intelligence check for me, or a nature. No, intelligence is fine.
Intelligence, come on, do it.
Nice.
17.
There are several entries about krakens that you read through, and they're very contradictory. Some of them are like, they're giant squids, and some of them are like, no, they're like multi-limbed monsters that have like squid features but also have like dragon heads and like weird shit. And so you come to realize either there are multiple kinds of krakens, or what are being deemed krakens, or this species of creature is metamorphic to a certain extent, like shape changing or something like that. Is your assumption from what you read?
Gotcha.
And you do find one more entry that you're not 100% sure on, as far as if it rings bells for your
my friend.
Your friend. And I lost what that thing is called. Yay, go DM. Right? They're called Veluga.
Veluga.
And they're essentially enormous sea serpents. They don't really look like what you saw, though.
But they are like big enough.
You're not even sure about that. They're definitely huge, though. I mean, they're gargantuan. They're probably one of the largest creatures in at least the ocean nearby. But you're not 100% sure. They seem a little small compared to what you saw.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, after I do my research, like, well, I don't know why anyone would ever do this for more than one day. And then I will thank my small brethren for taking the time. And I guess I'll be on my way.
Okay. And that was at the library. Did you have any stuff you want to do at the university on another day?
I assume he will, whenever there's like some off time at the shop, like take time at the university and kind of research until he gets bored or the like off time subsides.
Okay.
Just because like that was the whole thing about coming down here to figure out like what this mark is.
Right.
And while he's closer to it, he's not quite closer to it because he still doesn't have a clue what's happening, except that something might happen in the future, maybe.
Yeah. So going to the university entails a lot of like trying to track down professors that might know, scholars that have researched this kind of thing. And the few that you find, a lot of the stuff that they tell you is essentially the things you read in the book, that there are these large creatures in the ocean. Do you describe what you saw? Or are you just like asking, what large creatures are there in the ocean?
Are there any ones that I, on like first glance, trust or feel like somewhat comfortable with?
Gotcha. There is like, of the three that you find that seem to be kind of like zoologist trained, there is a half elven woman that seems just a little more genuine than the others. Like maybe she cares about her students as opposed to like, I'm just doing this for a paycheck. So yeah, I mean, she seems genuine.
Then for her, I think I would go a little more in depth, just like a last ditch effort, like maybe this will be a thing. So yeah, I will explain.
Okay. So when you explain it to her, like she makes probably a lot of the same assumptions that Friede is making, that tentacles were wrapped around you. And she's like, the only creature I know that's large enough to do that exists today would be Queen Rand, who is a kraken of some ill repute in the Blood Sea. But other than that, I don't know.
So 2 questions, if you don't mind. 1, the Blood Sea is like far that way.
It is quite a ways, yeah. Let's see if I can...
That does not bode well. Second question. You said the only creature that you can think of that will be alive today. What about like dead creatures or creatures that aren't alive? Like, let's just open up possibilities and see.
I mean, there were tales of Titan spawn, before the Divine War, that don't exist any longer, that were wiped out during the Divine War, and a lot of those things were even like one-offs. They were just creatures of some mad Titan's imagination that was loosed upon the world. But a lot of those weren't recorded in the way that things have been recorded since, or like that consistent life has been recorded over the years.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, and the Blood Sea is probably around 1,200 miles away.
1,200 miles.
It's a ways.
So, yeah.
And you definitely were not that far. You were maybe a sixth of that away from Shelzar.
Yeah. So that would be like a good 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
That she reached out. Okay. So I'm just going to decide that it's not her. and move on with my
I'm just
day.
gonna accept what I want and
Yeah,
push
it
away
is
everything else.
a nice snake of a like happy Titan that now has a friend,
Absolutely. A
and
friend
then
named Friede.
I'm gonna go home
I
with my
got a
friend
friend
in
in
my
you.
head and my friend in the water.
Okay. All right. So, Dhesim, you've been setting up your workshop. Brock has been helping you to build essentially a door that can survive fire and concussion. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
do I know this is happening?
Yes. So, like on your other times when you're not studying and that you're helping Dhesim to set up and you create your own small little tinker area in Dhesim's lab, Brakaw and he have been building this. Um, it's more than just a door because essentially you have to like build a frame and then put the door into it. And there's
Right.
Braka's doing a lot of like what he calls the word is not shoring up. He's doing a lot of shoring up so that like any kind of concussion won't blow the door or the new structure off its
Right.
its attachments. So Destin, what are you doing otherwise?
Mom, doing his best to sell things in the shop.
Okay.
Has been practicing his sales pitch. He's learned about 5 or 6 new words in Shelzari.
What are those words?
Guarantee. Great value. Things like that.
Yeah, yeah. One of a kind, unique.
One of a kind.
Yeah.
Nah. Have I got a product for you?
So at the end of this time period.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Can I try and teach him one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I use this product myself. It's wonderful.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he totally uses that phrase as well.
So during this time that everyone is essentially kind of taking care of their own things, Pratchya's been getting the store rebuilt. The floor has been replaced. There hasn't been an influx of new merchandise, and so all of the shelves are mostly bare. There's like a couple of old books, a vase, a couple of statues that really aren't even definable enough to be like, oh well, that's obviously like an Asathi statue. So really, you guys aren't selling anything, and so it does start coming to a point that you're going to have to start going out again and looking for these relics. And there are the ones that people had already ordered, and you may find rumors of other ones. But what is your plan as a group? Oh, sorry. And one other thing, Pratchya's put out a sign on the door looking for help because she knows she needs to really be here, run the business, keep things going right. Sajida can't be here all the time, so she's looking for a replacement to go out and adventure with you. So what is your plan from here forth?
Well, before like a month ago, we were going to get that scimitar.
Yeah, the
falchion.
falchion, yeah.
And that was the one that was like in the city, right?
The last time, so you even got the memories that were like, this is somewhere below the city. There were catacombs that were used as like gladiatorial arenas back in the day. And so you had found a memory from Through the Ages that was essentially the dying moment of the gladiator that wielded the scimitar or the falchion that the store was hired to find.
I mean, if we need to get...
I believe there was lava involved.
There was
crap.
lava involved.
Fuck. Maybe we shouldn't get that one again. I think that our time has passed for that one. It's probably taken already. Someone took it. It's done.
Yeah. I think Friede and I have we may be on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of how long we can survive lava.
Yep.
That is probably the truth.
Oh, Friede, have you been drinking enough water?
Have I? Yeah. I'm sure I have. Like now that I'm on land, and I don't have to drink that seawater because seawater is not great to drink. Because
one of the things Brock is doing is looking around and thinking, without Pratchya, does this mean one of us has to be the responsible adult of the group now? Because we don't have one of those.
It very well might be one of you. It might be the person she hires. You never know.
I think we're very responsible. We got into that door that one time.
By negotiating, right?
By negotiating.
Oh yeah, you're right. She was the negotiator, and I was the person who actually gets us through doors.
Right? There was that one time when we were in the bar and we didn't start a fight.
I remember that. Oh yeah, we're good.
We're good. We got this.
We got this.
And I'm gonna look over my like shoulder to see if she's like staring.
To see if Pratchya's staring.
Yeah.
Now, you've noticed that Pratchya has a lot of time spent with her nose in like the ledger, trying to figure out where future money's going to come from. And so a lot of the times when you're talking to her, she's actually not even listening.
Okay, that's good. Then, I think we should we'll do our part. We will get whatever is easiest, and if that's the falchion, I will help in any way I can. Because that should bring us a decent chunk of change.
That's so. Actually, the falchion will bring in money. The biggest issue with the falchion is it had a down payment, so part of the money has already been taken and spent.
Right.
And so yes, you're going to get money, but it won't be as much as like future items that you'll procure.
Right.
But there is that certain. You really need to do this anyway.
Because they've already paid.
Right.
So, and we've already waited an extra month. Yeah, I think we should get... My vote's for the falchion.
Okay. Dhesim, what are you thinking?
I mean, whatever the Gentle Masters want to do, he is more than happy to accompany them doing.
Okay. And Brakaw?
Yeah, let's go with the falchion.
Okay. And Brakaw, you had before stream, I think when we chatted offline, you had mentioned the woman or the tiefling person that you had met before going off to rescue Friede. Did you want to do anything about that before we continue on? I don't want to rush off. Decisions. And this can be stuff that has occurred over 2 weeks, so...
I mean, it's less decisions, more try to buy some time. It's like, yeah, so I think Brakaw would have paid a visit to the Temple of the Yellow Lotus.
Okay. So, one Hadra Day, which is the day named after Hadrada, or Hadrada Day. I think it's essentially Wednesday. You head over to the temple fairly early in the morning, before the workday really starts. And as you get closer, you hear this chanting and this like humming that's coming from inside. And the temple doesn't have doors. It's just this open. It's like this very ornate wall that's worked with this scroll work and decorations that are very reminiscent of like lotus and the plant that grows the flower. And you get to this large gate, like gateway. There's no gate that closes. Inside is this huge courtyard, and you see several groups. Some have 2 or 3 people, but a few are like a dozen or more people, and they're doing different. It looks like they're doing different exercises. Some of them seem much more withdrawn and like internalized, like moving through stances, and their eyes are closed and they're thinking. Some of the larger groups are engaged in what looks like combat, but it's like obviously training. They're flipping each other and grabbing and like doing these different things. But it seems like most of the combat seems very I don't want to say nonviolent. It's not the right word. It's more about stopping the violence that is happening to the person being attacked, and removing them from the situation. And then there's other people that are sitting in groups and they're chanting and some are humming. What do you do?
So would they let me just like walk in?
No one stops you.
Brakaw would. Brakaw's gonna look around for a bit and assume that this would be a little bit like walking into a store where someone would come and greet him and say hello, friend, and that they would make the first move in an introduction.
Yeah, you're absolutely waiting for this temple's Dhesim to walk in and start selling you something. Is that essentially what I'm getting?
Yes, because they have very eager customer.
Absolutely. So, what's your passive perception?
12.
12. Go ahead and do a perception check. Excellent. Okay, so as you're watching all of these people and you're kind of waiting for the sales pitch guy to walk up, a younger man that has very pale skin. The only other person that you've seen that looks like this was actually at the cafe across the street from you, and they were one of the people that had insulted Pratchya. Very pale skinned, super blonde, bright blue eyes. He comes walking over to you and he's wearing this like brilliant yellow robe, which just makes him very bright to look at. But he walks up and he bows to you and he asks you how your day is.
It's my day's been going well so far, and you?
I'm doing well. Are you here for reflection?
Yes.
This way. And he'll lead you over to one of the groups that's sitting there, like chanting and just kind of, as you get closer, all of their eyes are closed. It seems like they're doing a lot of breathing techniques. The people who are humming, it almost seems like they're breathing in and breathing out while humming, so like they're circularly humming. And then the people who are chanting are also very similarly, like they have their eyes closed, they're internalizing and obviously like some kind of meditation. And he gestures for you to sit.
So I sit and ask, should I just sit or should I explain why it is that I've come here?
Oh, this is not your first time. Oh, sorry, this is your first time. The DM should know
Yes,
what
it
he's
is.
talking about. He apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. Yes. So, well, come with me. We'll go over here, and he leads you over away from the group if you follow him.
And Brakaw does, yes.
Okay. So as you have moved through the group and sat down and looked around at everyone, you notice that a lot of them are wearing these yellow robes, but there are a lot of people that aren't wearing robes, and so you do get the feeling that a lot of just commoners or people who aren't members of the temple do come here to take part in these exercises. And so the man waves you over, and he finds a padded area for you to sit in. It's like a I don't want to say it's a pile of pillows, but it's a pile of pillows that have like you can move around and sit as comfortably as you want to. And he says it's often easier to work your way into such stature slowly rather than trying to sit like that for hours right away. We find that people who are just starting off are more comfortable here. Would you like me to walk you through one of our morning rituals?
Yes, is this a ritual that will help me learn to calm myself after things break at work?
Yeah. Oh, he smiles. He's like, yes, that's much of what we offer the community around us. This is a
Excellent.
place to let go of such feelings, especially anger. How is it
Yes,
that
that.
you have heard about us? Did you get our flyer in the mail? No, just kidding.
Oh, not in the mail. I met a I met a woman. Believe her name is Vanessa. Lot of tattoos. Who said, yeah, that we spoke briefly, and she mentioned that this may be a good place for what I seek.
When you say Vanessa's name, there's obviously like a flash of recognition in the man's eyes, um, and he nods. He doesn't say anything about her, but he obviously knows who you're talking about, and he will walk you through the morning meditation if you so choose.
Yes.
Okay. So Brakaw begins his journey learning to control his anger. Excellent.
And if there are, and if part of the meditation is things involving hands instead of anything with like a fist or an open palm, if his eyes are closed, he's definitely imagining Tinker's tools in his hand and controlling the Tinker tools with his dominant hand,
Yeah, that's awesome. So
which we'll just say is his right.
are you what's higher, charisma or wisdom?
Wisdom.
Go ahead and make a wisdom check.
I mean, they're pretty close, but wisdom's a little higher.
Cool. Nice. So you're not really sure if like during the process you actually kind of lose track of time, and the man just very calmly is like talking to you. It's very like sedating, like it's very calming, but your hands they twitch, and when they do you feel him like take your hand, and it's almost like the air is wrapping around your hand rather than somebody is touching you, which is a very interesting sensation. And he'll just intone as part of like his breathing just to let go of the things that you're doing in your mind and just be here. That's awesome. Sorry, Captain Waddles, who's watching, thought that the background was leopard print, which I could absolutely see, and it's probably all I'm ever going to see again now that it's been stated. So yeah, he walks you through that, and by the end, you do become very aware of when you're not focused on being here, and so it's something that you will learn over time. He tells you to control your emotions and further yourself in your class. Sorry. Excellent. Do you continue to come back, Brakaw?
Yes.
Okay. Is it going to be a daily thing, or are you going to do it like how often?
I think it would be on a regular basis, but not when he is selling his memories.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Over that time, you actually don't end up seeing Vanessa during your visits. Yeah.
After a couple of visits, Brakaw would start asking.
Okay. So it's actually the man that you met the first day. What's his name?
You're asking me to come up with a name. This is not going to end well.
I'm asking because then I don't have to come up with his name. That's all right. Hang on one sec. We'll come up with it in a second. But he does tell you that Vanessa's actually on a type of quest right now to reach her next step in her path.
Oh, what's her quest?
Well, for each of us, it is a personal thing. I couldn't tell you what hers is. My own was to go and travel across the sweltering plains without food or water. And Brock, I'm pretty sure, are you from the sweltering plains, or are you from one of the other many deserts that are in Gelsbad?
Sweltering Plains is the nearest desert.
It is, correct.
Right? And yes.
Okay. You know that is a very impressive feat, and looking at this guy who is... you're not sure how he survived, nor how he is not, like, sunburnt beyond belief. But that is impressive, having firsthand knowledge of living in the sweltering plains. That's and you're not sure why anyone would do that.
And also being an expert in what it takes to survive in the sands and proficient in survival. I'm looking at him and Brock has got to like squint down at this story, like doing the very clearly, really? he can't hide that. I would like to roll insight.
Sure.
As a player, I can guess where this is going to go, but Brakaw,
What'd you get?
Brakaw can't trust this
Cool.
one, so we'll see what the roll is.
So, you feel like he's being honest. You're just not sure how he did it. Should his name be Heck, Nud, or Stig?
I'm thinking Stig.
Stig. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Stig it is.
Stig. I grew up in the desert. How did you survive without food or water?
It was not easy. There were many times that visions came to claim me, and yet I woke in the cool of the night, still alive, and was able to continue on. I believe it was only Inkeeli's favor that saw me across the desert. And as far as what Brakaw would believe, that tracks. Like, gods have been known to do that, but it's up to you on whether or not you buy that.
Yeah, Brock's gonna smile and nod at this point.
Okay. we'll just move along. Okay. Awesome.
And it's not 100% clear how much he's smiling and nodding because he doesn't remember who Enki is.
That's fair. I will let you do a religion check at advantage on this one. And I'll explain why if you get it. 11. You've definitely heard Inkili mentioned a lot here in this city, but you're not really sure why. You know they're one of the gods. You just can't remember which one.
Checks out.
Absolutely. All right. So the weeks go by. Everyone has done their personal stuff and helped, to rebuild the shop, to expand down into the tunnels. There is the issue of the tunnels as well. I will throw that out there, that you have no idea what's beyond pretty much a few hundred feet after the workshop that Dhesim and Friede build with Brakaw's help. So if you wish to go look for the falchion, that is one option. You can go... You have a lot of choices. So, last chance to change your mind. What does the group do?
Would there have been any time during this transition period to have done some preliminary scuttling around in the tunnels?
Yeah, and essentially that's the like few hundred, we'll say a couple thousand feet. But it becomes obvious that these things just go on, and they're not just like going out on the same plane. Like, there's a lot of like twisting down further into the earth, and some of those areas are very strangely made, almost like they've been carved, but you're not sure by what.
So it's like dark and underground.
It is. It's almost like being in the dark. But there is no underdark here.
Okay.
Do we have torches?
You can absolutely get torches, yep.
Right, because I am blind in the dark.
Yeah, I think... Oh, no, Dhesim can see in the dark.
And Brakaw can for 30 feet. That's not a whole lot of feet.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That is only 30 feet as opposed to the 60 feet.
So should we...
Go ahead.
Should we go for the falchion, or should we explore what could just like lead into our house?
It very well might.
That seems like a really good idea. Are there any indications that these tunnels are Slytherin made, or any Slytherin related?
That is a really good question. We're gonna call it a survival check.
I like surviving. 13.
So going with survival because it's kind of like tracks, like identifying tracks, but not so much tracks in the like way that it's a footstep. Is you're looking for signs that your people, that you would recognize, that kind of remnant.
We do have like tunnels.
You do. None of these appear to be that way, though.
Okay, so they're what else? Tunnels. I mean, only Slytherin tunnel. Nothing else, except maybe worms.
Yeah.
Worms and Slytherin. They're the only two things in the world that tunnel.
The only two things.
Well, and rabbits. Rabbits do too. Well, and probably rats. And smaller rats. And then moles. Moles do it.
Dhesim's just following you around the store one day, just listing off all of these things that, and then if you ever get tired of it and walk away fast enough, then he begins following Brakaw around, or Pratchya. The list of the only creatures that burrow tunnels gets quite extensive.
But it's really only Slytherin that do it, you see.
Right. Because they can squeeze.
Because they can squeeze, and tunnels are all about squeezing, even though these are big tunnels that you don't have to squeeze in. Imagine that you're squeezing like through the earth. And that's an indication that it's probably Slytherin, even though it's not Slytherin, but could be something other than Slytherin.
And it's this conversation while you're exploring some of the tunnels that Pratchya is just like, I am tired of you talking about squeezing. I am going back. I am going back to the shop. Let me know what you find. And
It'll save your life one day.
Okay. So do you want to... Which way do you want to go?
I mean, my vote is whatever does not put me closer to lava.
Okay. So a lot of the group conversation, Friede is just like, that sword is probably long gone. Why would it still be there? It doesn't
If
make
we
any
can
sense.
get that easy,
right?
Other people can find it easy as well.
Exactly. Brakaw, what do you think?
Hey, Friede, one thing that I'm pretty sure we can guarantee, if someone has already paid some money for this sword, it can't be near lava anymore. Otherwise, who would pay for it?
I like that. Yeah. Okay. I'm back on Team Sword.
That is perfect logic. I love it. And Dhesim?
Perhaps the tunnels go there and there is no lava in the tunnels.
Oh, okay. I'm back on Team Tunnel now.
Maybe it is a shortcut. Tunnels always lead to somewhere important. Generally, burrows.
We should definitely check out the tunnels at some point, because I don't feel safe with this massive cave of tunnels. But if people have already paid, and we can theoretically get it quick, we should probably do that. As people are, even though we've paid off all our debts, people are still slightly mad at us.
Have they already paid?
They did a down payment, yeah. So maybe we can hopefully quickly get the falchion in a place that is not full of lava, rest up, and then explore here.
Gotcha. And one other thing that I failed to mention earlier that we chatted about or that I told you about off the air, the cache has always been oddly cool. No matter how hot it is outside, it is always the same temperature inside. And when you came back from your adventure, it was sweltering. You're in midsummer. It is so hot here. Friede, you're just not even sure how your magic ring is. You keep checking it to make sure it's still functioning, because you're pretty sure you're going to die. And I don't mean that in a figurative sense.
I'm actually going to...
Right. And so you were so looking forward to the coolness of the cache, and you get there and Sajida was just dripping sweat, and she's obviously very irritable, and she's talking about how Srigik is missing. But over the last 2 weeks, that coolness has never returned, and none of you, Pratchya or Sajida included, know why that is the case. But it may end up coming into... I just want to throw it out there now because it may end up coming up here soon.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, when the people who paid for the falchion,
Yeah.
what kind of time limit do we have?
There wasn't necessarily one for that. I think the only one that really had a harder time limit was for the Visage of... hang on.
That, mask thing.
Yeah, the Visage of Hadaris.
And that's still, 2 months away?
Yeah, so you're looking at about 2 months. You're a little concerned about getting it in time because you know that the group that was sent after it that hasn't returned, they're quite adept at adventuring. They were the people that Belky sent after things that were much harder to get than things like the sword.
Right.
And so if they have disappeared because of whatever it is they faced on this adventure, or on this quest to find this object, this mask, it might be very dangerous for you. And Pratchya was like, we are not going after that right now.
Right.
But you do know that Zahir El Raouf, he did like pay his half up front, and it was, she hasn't told you how much, but Pratchya has expressed that it was a lot of money that has already been paid, like has already gone to paying you, to paying off other bills.
Right.
And on the other side of that coin, there's a lot of money that will come in from the other half of this, should the mask be retrieved. So yeah, the Visage of Hadaris is the one that's on a time frame, but you're very concerned about going to do that first.
Okay. So then I'm gonna turn to Brakaw and ask, like, what if we spend a day checking out the tunnels, and then tomorrow we go get the scimitar, the falchion? Because I'm concerned that I'm going to die from the heat, and I do know that before I was stolen, that door was closed and it was super chill, and now that door is open and I am dying.
Yeah, I mean, I can only remind you to drink so much water.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So, yep.
Okay. So is the plan then to check out the tunnels for a day, do some deep, extensive searching now that you have time to do so, and then tomorrow go look for the falchion?
I have been persuaded.
Okay. So as everyone heads up to tell Pratchya this is the plan, there's a person standing next to them, next to Pratchya, and she says, this is... Oh, hang on, I actually have a name for this. Hang on. Wah. It's not a name I had to come up with. But, that being said, I need to find it. She says this is... Darn it. Where are you, Doran? And gestures at this person who will be revealed next time on the Curiosity Cache. So for this time, I clicked on this and got rid of our stuff. There we are. So for this week, that's where we'll end. And next week, we will add a new player to join you in your adventures. To hopefully be that voice of reason. Is that what you called it? What was that?
Reason, maturity. I think what I said is we need someone to be an adult.
Gotcha. That's fair. I am not going to guarantee either way that this new character will be the adult, but we will see how it goes.
Honestly, in a number of ways, as a player, I'm kind of hoping for no, but Brakaw, as a character in the world, would be hoping for yes, because, Pratchya felt like a little bit of a big sister.
Yeah, it's true. And she was definitely the caregiver
in a
of the
way.
group.
Don't worry, I'll fill in the role of adult.
You do have a child.
I do have a child.
You have lost, yep.
Yep, that did happen.
I mean, I didn't lose it. The nanny did. We'll see her in court. That's an adult thing
Darn
to
it,
say,
Sajida.
right?
Can we play that scene out?
Right?
I'm suing Sajida.
Dhesim's the prosecutor. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll do that soon.
Yeah.
So for now, we'll go ahead and end. Sorry, today was a lot of just kind of exposition, me talking a lot. I can actually feel it. I need to go drink some tea. But had to fill in all of those little bits of information between last season and now. And now we'll get your adventure rolling again. So until that happens, Brakaw, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Noah Grand, and I play Brakaw Blue. And when I'm not playing here, you can go ahead and find me on Twitter at Noah Grand. And I write a number of things for DM's Guild and help with some conventions moving online. So,
Awesome.
throughout the rest of the week, I'll be helping out San Diego Comic Con as they move their AL games online.
Exciting.
Nice.
How many AL games do they run there?
So they were not expecting a whole lot of people to show up for online AL games because it's very much of a focus on newer players who may be playing their first
Gotcha.
D&D games period. But the walk-up lines have filled lot, not necessarily fast, but a lot more people than we were initially anticipating.
Gotcha.
So I think that throughout the day, we're probably running 8 to 10 tables for intro players for the rest of the weekend.
That's pretty exciting. So is that every day?
Maybe more. Yeah.
Awesome. So if you're watching,
we
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got 4 time slots, and what we're doing is we're running 2-hour adventures in 3-hour time slots to help people go ahead and get used to some of the things about playing online, making a character online in Fantasy Grounds, who's sponsoring the event. So they were kind enough to help sponsor all the Dungeon Masters.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah, it looks like 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you're watching online and you want to play some AL, are there any tables still open that you know of?
Yeah, so what we're doing for people who didn't know about it before and just want to show up
Yeah.
and try and join a game, go to warhorn.net and look for San Diego Comic Con, and then you'll see a link to join the Discord server. And what we're doing is pretty similar to a face-to-face event. We're taking people who are in the walk-in line for games later that day. And the walk-in line is starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. So this automatically updates for your time zone.
Oh, nice.
Because mine's showing at 9 because I'm in the not Pacific.
Yes,
cool.
and so, yes, but of course with an online event where people would be coming from multiple time zones, there are always questions.
Yeah, it does happen. Well, that's exciting. I hope the entire weekend is absolutely a blast for you and everyone who's gaming. I hope you get some downtime as well.
Thanks, yeah.
All right. So, Friede, tell us about yourself.
Hi, so my name is Chaz. I'm a PhD student who studies music and storytelling in video games. And D&D, I count as video games, because sure, why not?
There are D&D video games.
There are D&D video games. And I play Friede, the sweltering Iceman.
Yeah, things are going to start going to get a little uncomfortable for Friede, I have a feeling.
This is his first summer, I guess.
Yeah, and it's... So you have the ring that keeps you alive. You don't melt,
right.
But it doesn't mean it's comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
Awesome. Dhesim, so despite that we can't see you, we know you're a person. Tell us all about yourself.
I'm actually not a person. I know.
Yes.
That was supposed to be that was like season 7 reveal. Come on.
Season 7 reveal. I'm actually a disembodied voice. My name is John. That's what I've been assigned. And I play Dhesim.
Yay.
I am I'm an all-around nerd who likes to do nerdy things and hang out with other nerds and play role-playing games and those sorts of things.
Hence how we met.
That's exactly how we met, as Adventure League Dungeons and Masters.
Hooray!
Hooray! And a host of other playtesting sorts of things.
It's true.
That is true. Try and break things as quickly and as efficiently as I possibly can. In my real life, I make whiskey in Ireland. And, in my not real life, I blow things up with the power of mind bullets.
Yay! And
Yay.
your being in Ireland is why your Ireland internet connection is not allowing you to have video, because it's worse than Noah's Pacific Time internet connection, which gives him no end of. Noah, has your connection been better recently, at least?
For the most part, the Los Angeles connections have been better.
Nice.
Yay! Awesome. I guess I shouldn't say who I am. I am Jeremy Hochhalter. I am the DM for this show, Curiosity Cache. We are here every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Mondays I am on Travis Legg's. Well, it was called Myths and Matchmakers, but we just ended that this last Monday, didn't we, Chaz?
Did.
Chaz is also on there with me, and we are starting a new game that has no title on Mondays on Plastic Age Plays here on Twitch. It is also going to be Scarred Lands, but we're starting back at level 1, so no tier 4 for us.
Oh.
Ooh, that's okay. Chaz, are we starting next week on Wednesday?
We are starting next week, Wednesday.
So coming next Wednesday at 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m.
3:30 p.m. Eastern. Yep.
3:30 p.m. Eastern, is Academia Chronicles of Porta Temporia. Did I get that right?
Sure. Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
it.
right at all. Our new Final Fantasy inspired fifth edition actual play. So that should be. I'm excited. I'm excited to run around with giant swords and blow shit up. I'll be honest.
I have some plans. So yeah, it'll be good.
So tune in on Wednesday for that. Otherwise, and John will also be on that. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at WHPubs, Facebook and Twitch, WH Publications, and I publish stuff on Drive-Thru RPG and DM's Guild. Is that all my stuff? That's all my stuff for now. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves and of each other, and we will see you next time. Bye.